I look out into the void, and all I see is death and destruction. This is the PvP spec for 7.3.2 for the Affliction Warlock, and this is my badass character on his dual-headed dragon mount, looking out into space with the den of the warlocks. These rebellious imps in the background. Let's get into it. So this is the talents I use, and I'm going to explain a little bit about them and kind of what I found as far as Battlegrounds is concerned mostly. This is mostly a Battlegrounds PvP spec. If Grasp is just better than Wrath and Agony. I've tried out Haunt, but the problem is with adding Haunt, it's like another cooldown that you have to like manage, and you already have enough abilities to do a lot of damage. So Haunt really doesn't do anything for you. Wrath and Agony is more of a PvE ability, but in RBGs you could probably maybe use it. But the reality is Malefic Grasp gives you great single target damage. This spec, we're going to use Absolute Corruption over Contagion. Contagion used to be kind of my go-to thing, but I think the damage is sort of almost equivalent, and most people don't use Empowered Life Tap. But Empowered Life Tap is not too bad either, but Absolute Corruption is just too powerful. 25% damage. A lot of your damage is going to come from just wearing down the team, and Corruption has having it last 24 seconds on players is just really powerful. You can use this is your defensive little tree here. I've seen players use Howl of Terror. It's not that great. I'd rather have Mortal Coil because it gives me 20% of my max HP and it just shucks off a melee person really effectively. Demonic Circle can be really good in games like Warsong Gulch, where you can, put the teleporter pad on the 3rd floor if you want to run the flag, but most warlocks don't want to run the flag. But then you basically would jump down to the 2nd or 1st floor and just teleport right back up. It's pretty powerful. So here's where we kind of differentiate ourselves from a lot of other warlocks. Phantom Singularity is still really good, and again, if you want to have more healing. But most of the time in PvP, if you think about it, especially in Battlegrounds PvP, you're going to be dying to mostly not really 1v1s, maybe 2v1s. Definitely your 3v1s, you're going to start having a lot of problems for sure. 4v1s, you're dead. 5v1s, you're dead. Pretty much, But this is Phantom Singularity can help with these healing things like Siphon Life and Phantom Singularity. They're mostly damage mitigators. They're ways to mitigate a lot of the incoming damage happening to you. And personally, I think that they're not that great. Now, Phantom Singularity is still really good, so there's no fault. But I'm going to show you with Sow of Seeds why you want to pick this up. A lot of the time as a warlock, you're in a group fight. You've dotted up like 4 or 5 people, and then you're like, hey, I want to just get this. I can have an instant soul shard here to actually cast Sow of Seeds, which is just awesome. It's an awesome ability, and it also helps you out with zerg busting. Choose Demon Skin because it's just straight up better. Dark Pack used to be pretty good, especially in Demonology when it used to be on 2 separate things. But Dark Pack, it's just not as good. And I use Grimoire of Supremacy, so I want to use an Infernal Core. And I've been using the Infernal Core more than the Dreadlord. Now in Arena it might be different because you might get pillared a lot more. So you might want to use the Doom Guard, right? Or the Fell Hunter for sure, because the Fell Hunter rides them pretty hard. But Doom Guard, some players I've read that they use Doom Guard because the fact that they can get people from going around the pillar, that allows them to get another drain life off to refresh all the dots. But I use Grimoire of Supremacy at Battlegrounds because I want to use my Infernal Core. It's an amazing flag spinner. Basically, it sends out, and you can see this in some of my other BG games. If you want to check them out on my channel, you'll see it like especially in the Battle for Galenus type stuff. Though that map is really good. Eye of Storm. Anyone where there like a node needs to be contested or a flag needs to be picked up, this is a phenomenal ability. Arathi Basin. Using an Infernal Core allows you, or the Infernal allows you to. It can send out a stun too, which is really powerful. So the stun can be used almost against any class, if you think about it, where the silence can only be used against casters. And so actually makes you a lot weaker to melee. It makes you stronger. When you use the Doom Guard, it makes you stronger to casters. But the stun still affects everyone. And the thing is, the Infernal Core has a 10-second purge ability. It's very, very powerful. And Purge in this game is really good because it removes key abilities and buffs on the player, and it's up every 10 seconds. So Constantly Infernal is removing healing over time effects or just key buffs on people that are magical abilities. This last one I experimented out with quite a bit. I like Siphon Soul, trust me. It's just the same thing with Phantom Singularity. if you want to go for that extra healing, but you don't need it. And the whole point is that, do you want to have extra healing? About 1 million, a considerable amount of healing, 60% of 600,000, or when a target gets below 35%, do you want to do 50% increased damage? So with this spec, we want to focus more on like killing blows more than like sustainability, and you have to adjust your playstyle to how you want to play. And BG's warlocks typically never get healed, so this is just a fact of life. But Death's Embrace gives you insane, and you're going to see this with the rest of the spec I'm going to put out, it gives you insane damage. And if someone drops below 35%, it gets really, really difficult to heal. You've always wanted to play a warrior. They have that nice execute ability where they just like drop kick people, for like a ton of damage. You don't quite have that like burst rage dump ability that warriors have, but you almost have it. I mean, especially with other parts of the spec I'm going to show you here in a second, we can definitely still have a very powerful thing. And the thing about warriors is they have to be right up front on someone. They don't have the AoE ability, really, AoE damage, or other melee classes don't have the AoE power that warlocks have, like with Sow of Seeds here that I'm going to show you. So the name of this spec is called the Nightfall spec, or Nightfall Comes, or Nightfall Comes is 7.3. And I want to use Relentless because I'm an orc, and it gives me extra stun resist. It actually synergizes with my stun resist. I go with Train of Thought because I'm greedy. I could go with Mind Quickness for haste, and in Demonology you want to use that Mind Quickness. But in this case, I want damage. If I'm not attacked for 8 seconds, and surprisingly, it lasts a lot longer than you think it would, where you're not taking any damage. Because if you're in the back more and you're able to control more, your damage shoots up significantly by 15%, right? And sometimes you're not getting focused. Curse of Fragility is just phenomenal. BG ability. It's almost, I've read stuff where the Demonology guys, they actually use this first, but you have sort of a ramp up thing. So you want to get Agony on first, and you want to get Corruption. You maybe want to get 1 or 2 unstables on someone, then you drain them to refresh the dots. It's Curse of Fragility when they start getting low. Works great for enemy flag carriers. If you want to just really hurt somebody, it's probably, if you think about it, it's the most powerful warlock ability, because say you're in a battleground with 5 million HP, boom, 20% of your HP is gone. You just do 1 million damage in 1 second, or 1 global cooldown to someone. Not a lot of classes have that power, it's not that easy. Nether Ward is really good. So unlike, works really well against shamans, mages, other warlocks. The cooldown is fantastic, 45 seconds. It reflects all damage. Casting Circle used to be amazing, but looks like they've changed it a little bit. But it can interrupt 1 ability or 1 pummel. Essence Drain used to be really good too. And again, it's more of an arena spec. If you're up against melee or double melee or something like that, you have to mess around with your spec against casters. But in Battlegrounds, I want to use Nether Ward because so many things are magical. It's just really powerful. This is the key part of the spec right here, where we're coming up onto, where I think a lot of warlocks sort of miss what's going on. And I used to kind of play with this spec too. Endless Affliction is okay, but the thing is, let's read this tooltip. Your Unstable Affliction deals the same damage, the same damage as normal, but the duration is increased by 6 seconds. So basically, we actually nerf ourselves, right? We're almost taking, if we look at the Unstable Affliction tooltip, and this might vary if you're in Battlegrounds, mine does 500,000 damage over 7 seconds. If it's Dispelled, it deals the same amount of damage apparently, but I know it's been nerfed in PvP, so it's totally different in PvP. And Endless Affliction basically halves the damage of your Unstable Affliction. So you're always like, man, warlocks, man, Unstable Affliction, terrible ability, because you're like, it's so weak in PvP, and they just dispel it. Well, why don't you double the damage of it by not using Endless Affliction? You can get 3 Unstable Afflictions on someone and hit them with Rot and Decay, or your Drain Soul ability. There's nothing they won't come off of them. And so instead of picking up Soul Shatter, which is just kind of garbage, I don't understand this ability. So here's the thing: it consumes all the damage over time effects of the 5 nearest enemies. So it removes all the dots off people, which is bad, dealing 10% of their total health and shadow damage. That's not too good. It's on a 1 minute cooldown too, which is kind of, again, we're starting to approach like the longer cooldown stuff. And then for each enemy hit by Soul Shatter, you gain 1 shard and 10% haste for 8 seconds. 8 seconds is a very, very short period of time. So I just don't see this working that well. The haste is really powerful, but you lose all your damage off everyone. So you nerf yourself. Yeah, you're doing 10% damage, but how I could see it being pretty good for an execute ability, but then you remove all the dots, and applying all the reapplying all the dots is going to take more than 8 seconds to do. So the risk to reward ratio in Soul Shatter doesn't seem to be there for me. Instead, I'm going to pick up Nightfall. Okay, corruption damage has a chance to reduce the cast time of your next Seed of Corruption by 100%. As a chance. We don't know the chance exactly. It doesn't really matter. But the whole point is it's a zerg busting thing. And the chance goes up significantly. It'll proc a lot in zerg situations, like constantly. That's all that matters. So this is it's a balanced ability, but it's powerful in the right situations. It's even okay in single 1v1s because you can throw out an instant Seed of Corruption on someone. If they're like running away from you and they're almost out of range, instead of casting Unstable Affliction, you throw out an instant seed on them. The seed explodes, it catches stealth people as well, right? The thing is too is it hits all pets. And the thing is it explodes and it synergizes well with our couple other abilities we talked about, Sow of Seeds. So we throw out 3 seeds on people. And this is sort of a PvE thing, but also synergizes with Absolute Corruption. So the seed explodes, applies corruption to everyone. We actually look at the tooltip. Embeds a demon seed in the enemy target that will explode after 15 seconds, dealing 153,000 shadow damage with all enemies within 10 yards. Remember, we throw out 3 seeds though. And then the seed will detonate earlier if the target is hit by another detonation or takes 90,000 in damage. So it does a ton of damage. You know, the whole point is you're not just throwing out one at a time. This is a great zerg busting Zerg Buster, and you can see this highlighted in some of my other videos. I'll be releasing an AV video pretty soon after this. Check that out. It's where I do over 600,000 damage, but instead of using, if you want a pure Zerg busting spec, you drop Death's Embrace, which is still kind of, I'm going to just straight up say it's questionable because Death Embrace is that good, and you go into Soul Conduit to get more shards. So you have you're just throwing out seeds constantly in Alterac Valley. That's super situational, but I actually question that because Death Embrace does so much damage when people get low. Remember, it does 50% more damage 1/3 of the time if they're low. If their healing is slips up at all, they go down. So Nightfall comes as sort of the joint that brings this whole spec together, and that's really what you want to pick it up. We want to drop Endless Affliction, which nerfs our damage. That's the secret to this spec. We want to drop Endless Affliction, and we want to increase our damage, and we bring it all together with Rotten Decay. And if we read Rotten Decay, each time your Drain Soul deals damage, it increases the duration of Unstable Affliction, Corruption, and Agony on the target. And if we actually go to Malefic Grasp, it increases all damage over time effects on the target by 25%. So when we're channeling the Drain Soul, so this is where our single target damage kicks up, and we're able to just melt people really quick. This works really well. I'm trying to find the thing where, yeah, with Death's Embrace, that's what it is. Agony, Corruption, Unstable Affliction, and Seed of Corruption, and Drain Soul deal up to 50%. So even your Seed of Corruption explodes, deals increased damage on targets below 35%. So it synergizes with Death's Embrace, which is why I think Death's Embrace is sort of the go-to here over Soul Conduit. We go back here. Rotten Decay brings it all together. We come together with it, and we're able to refresh that. And so this Rotten Decay has always been a little buggy. You know, I don't know, every time Drain Soul deals damage, which I guess takes every like half second or so, or every second, refreshes all the other ones, but only increases the on those targets by 1 second. You can get 3 or 4 Unstable Afflictions, and it will actually stick, okay? And the whole point is that you get 3 Unstable Afflictions, Agony and Corruption on someone, you're gonna see the damage that you do. Let's just be honest here. My gear is not the greatest. It's 912. But somehow I'm always top damage, top killing blows, you know, top everything in Battlegrounds. You know, there's a reason why the spec works. So let me break down the spec in conclusion, like why this is just such a great spec. We have all the single target elements to do single out healers, high priority targets, flag carriers, things like that. we're able to do that damage using Rot and Decay and Train of Thought, things like that, and you know, our normal rotation, Agony, Corruption, a couple Unstable Afflictions, Siphon Soul on them. It's a lot of fun, and you watch them blow up, and it's crazy. We actually look at our artifact too, and you're like, but Asbog, my healing isn't that great. Remember, you have this talent over here. Each time your Corruption deals damage, there's a 15% chance to deal shadow damage to the target and heal you for 100% of the damage. So that's another synergy with this spec as your artifact weapon. And this is where a lot of your healing can come from. You can actually compete with a lot of the healing of other Affliction specs in battlegrounds, because if your Seed of Corruption hits someone, boom. So in conclusion, we have the really powerful single target damage with Malefic Grasp, you know, Death's Embrace. Remember, our Infernals out there spinning flags, purging them, things like that too. So if you find a lot of people coming, you can hit T. That's what my Command Demon ability is, and you stun everyone too, which is really powerful. So if someone stuns you or silences you, you hit them with the stun. So that stun, the cooldown's on 45-second cooldown or something. It's really quick. It's up a lot. And then we have the Zerg busting spec, which you really bring out the Nightfall spec. The only part of Nightfall that would be theoretically missing is Soul Conduit. But Death's Embrace is just far more powerful, I think. It's just too good. The more I use it, the more it's just too powerful, because it has a single target adaptability that you're going to need. And we're throwing out instant seeds. If you want to see this spec in action, check out my other videos. After this, you can also check out the playlist of the World of Warcraft playlist. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something and going out there and really melt some faces, just like I am. And that's how we orcs do it. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next chapter.